My name is Angel. Is the name I gave to myself. Yeah, I wasn't given the name Angel, but I chose it for myself. There's a story behind it, which I discovered later. I chose the name when I was 17 and I was at school and I wanted to become a fashion designer and I was dreaming that I'm going to be big one day and I wanted the name that is going to stick to the minds of people. So I thought a Greek name is never gonna, no one's never gonna remember a Greek name. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna name myself Angel. So when I came to Athens from where I was living, I started using the name and yeah, that's it. But then I found out that when they were going to christen me, to give me my name, they were going to name me after my grandmother. And her original name was Angeliki, which is the female to Angelos, which is angel. They named her that, and then she changed it herself to Vasiliki, which we never really understood why or how it happened. And she in her identity card it was Angeliki, and then everyone would call her Vasiliki. So they named me Vasilis, which is yeah. So when I changed it to Angel, it's like, oh, okay. Well, I'm actually taking my grandmother's original name. Yeah, like my grandmother didn't have a husband, so she was on her own. She was a lone woman, so yeah, I have a very small family. So yes, yes, I grew up with women. Yeah, yeah. I guess it made things easier not having a father around because I didn't have to deal with the crap that a queer person goes through. But then again, of course, you are missing that side of the growing up. So it kind of, it's a good and a bad thing. So like during therapy, you find out that, oh, okay, yeah, well, then I should have had a father. I should have had like a complete family and to grow up like a normal person. You know what I mean? I was like 17. I was in high school, and then my choice was to become a fashion designer. So yeah, that's what I originally studied in the beginning when I was really young. I studied it here in Athens, in a very small school that didn't teach me anything, and I basically taught myself everything I wanted to make clothes, but of course it wasn't enough. I mean, teaching yourself can go so far. You have to have and like a proper education as well. But I didn't. I had some skills. I still do. But yeah, I'm very much hands on. So I use my hands a lot. Well, I think my first ever reference was Jean Paul Gaultier, which was very big in the late 80s when I decided to become a fashion designer. In the late 80s, Jean-Paul Gaultier and Madonna, and then he was dressing Madonna, and you know, like, oh my god, Jean-Paul Gaultier was everything. So I was wearing copies of his clothes, and you know, so it was very big at the time. So I was like, oh my god, I want to be like Jean-Paul. Haha, I did. You still do, but there are a few ways that you can escape it, and one of the ways is to go dressed as a girl, like pretend you're transsexual. So I was like 19, I think. I was 19. Yeah, I was 19 when they called me. So I was like, that's it. I shaved all my body hair. I shaved everything. I had long hair at the time, like long to my shoulders. So I went with my natural hair, very little makeup, and I was pretending I was this young, pretty girl. And they sent me away with a 2 year suspension or whatever, postponing. And then they called me back at 21, and I went again, and then they gave me a paper, an exemption paper, because it says on the paper he suffers from transsexualism. And I still have those papers with my picture on as a little girl, looking like a girl. It's amazing. Yeah, that's probably more for the future, when I'm dead and and people want to remember me. Maybe I I'm not sure because, like I said, that was the 90s. That was the early 90s, and it was still working. This trick, and they wouldn't cause any problem because there's such a commotion when like a trans person walks into the military thing. So they just want to get rid of you. They don't ask many questions. They don't try to say, oh no, you're gonna be fine. Let's take you in. I think now it's a bit harder, but I'm not sure. And then I worked in. I didn't have money. We were poor. So, and my dream was to create menswear, which was incredibly difficult. There was no market in Greece. So I couldn't really do what I wanted. So I had to compromise and got jobs in the fashion like magazines. So I started working as a stylist because that's all I could do. And And 6 years later, I got so sick and tired of everything and my reality in Greece that I literally left and went to London. And I lived there for 16 years. In London, I didn't have, I've done everything in London. I basically went to live my life. I didn't go there with a plan, I didn't go there with an ambition. I just went there to live my life because I knew I couldn't live anything. In Greece at the time, there was nothing. So um, I was feeling really empty. Like I felt like I was nothing. So I went to London and I started living. I started doing the things I liked. I mean, I was very sexual, so I was very much into the fetish and BDSM scene. So I started exploring that. Then slowly um, I had a partner who unfortunately died and left me some money. And he left me this legacy that I should create, I should pursue my work. So I created my own company as a fashion designer, and I was creating like collections twice a year, like menswear, and I had an agent, and but it didn't really work. I mean, it was very difficult. It's an industry that's really hard, and I didn't have the skills to sell myself or to become a this. And I was on my own, so I didn't have any help from anyone. So unfortunately, it didn't work for me. And if like 2 3 years after that, I just gave up. I said, okay, that's it. I'm not going to do this anymore. This has caused me so much heartache and so much anxiety that I need to change. So I completely quit the fashion and art completely, and I started looking at into other things what I could do as you know, as a person. Mm. Okay. I tried to become a chef because I cook. I'm a really good cook. So I worked in kitchens for about a year, and then of course I got so sick of the macho attitude and the stress that goes into a kitchen and the heat and all this, and it was just so horrible. And I was like, no, this is not for me. So I left that as well. And I went and I said, okay, now I need a new skill. I need to go to school. And I was lucky enough to live in the UK because in Greece I wouldn't have been able to do this. I would have needed money. I would have needed to support myself. But in the UK, with a student loan, and I actually had some help from friends. I was sponsored. I managed to go into higher education and started to become an osteopath. It was a choice. An alternative career choice for me. In the beginning, I liked it, and I have the personality and the hand skills if you want to do this. But it's a very hard it's a very hard profession because it's very science based and um, it's very difficult. I mean, 5 years in that school, I had such a hard time studying. It was really hard, and then coming out of it again, I realized that it doesn't just it's not sufficient to just finish the school. You have to keep on educating yourself constantly throughout your life, and this I found very difficult. I mean, I worked. I mean, I still do it. I treat friends here in Athens, but I don't see myself as an osteopath. I went back to my original love, which was art. One day I told myself, listen, you need to do something artistic because you cannot just quit. So I said, okay, what do I want to do? I want to do a performance. So I created this performance piece that was very personal and it was very extreme, and I performed it in a fetish club in London, and then I did a few more here and there, not nothing, I did a few more, which were very. It had nothing to do with drag. It was more like proper performance, and yeah, that's all I did in London with that. Well, I had I had gotten myself into a lot of debt because I had a partner who was really also finding it hard to work, and we both were finding it hard to work, and I was studying at the same time as well. So I had to get loans from the banks and get a credit card, and had the student loan, and so there was a lot of debt that had accumulated on my shoulders, and we were poor, and we were a bit we were miserable, and life in London was not what we were dreaming when we were younger. It was hard. It was it was crazy, and we couldn't really do anything because we didn't have any money. So one day my partner decided to leave, and he said, "Listen, I'm gonna go back to the United States where he's from." And I said, "Okay, what shall I do?" And then I started playing with the idea that maybe I can come back to Greece, and I made the decision to come back to Athens, to my home, to my original home. I felt amazing because for the first time I felt secure because first of all I mean London is huge and you feel lost in London. London is a you always feel like you're so tiny. But in Athens, I mean, I was born here, I grew up here, I know this city like anything, so I felt really secure. I came back to my own flat because my grandmother had died and left me her flat. So I had my own flat, I didn't have the rent to pay. And things are easier, Athens is so much easier, so much cheaper. So I felt really secure for the first time in my life, and that gave me a whole different attitude towards life. I could do stuff. Like it was easier. I made the decision to come back to Athens because I had visited a year or two before, and I smelled something different in the air. I said, "This is not the Athens I remember. This is certainly not the Athens I remember," and I kind of like what I feel. I hadn't really done anything, but it was more of a feeling that I got, like walking down the street and I thought, maybe things are changing. So yeah, that's how I made the decision, and I came back, and it was true. Things were changing, and I found a completely different city, completely different to what I left behind. I made it my goal to come to Athens and make a big impact as a persona. So in the first year, especially in the first year, whenever I would go out, I would dress up so amazingly and so insane that people had to notice me. That they were like, "Who the fuck is this person?" So I started meeting people. Like I would meet 100 people a month. Like constantly, I would meet everyone. So within a year, I got to know the whole community, and the whole community got to know me. So then I was in a position to start doing stuff. And yeah, it was not planned. Things were not really planned. I didn't have a plan apart from like say making my mark in Athens, and then I didn't know what I was gonna do. But of course, because I was so artistic and I was starting to, hang out with artists and people, and I started to getting involved in projects and little things, and then I started inventing this character. They called me to host this event, this queer event, and I dressed up as a very early version of Kangela. And I dressed up and I said, okay, I'm gonna have my mustache and I'm gonna put some lipstick on and a wig and a little dress, and I'm gonna go there, and and that was the beginning, and then people really liked it, and then yeah, like one thing led to another, and I started creating this character. There's a group of queer artists here in Athens that's very active. That they have events, they do things, So one evening I was invited to this birthday party, and I went with my best friend, and he was wearing this silly dress and a straw hat, and just like whatever, because it was a birthday party, so I went dressed up, and I went there, and we had to do a performance for the person that had the birthday. I didn't even know her. I admire her because she's a singer, and I admire her from I admired her work, and I was invited to her birthday party. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do this performance. And I did my first ever performance, like a lip sync performance, and they were screaming because I gave everything. I destroyed the place. So after that, again, the same people invited me to this event. They were doing this art event at the Atopos gallery space, and then I performed again there, but not as Kangela. It was a different kind of version. It was a very early thing, but I performed again, and they liked it. And then my best friend, who I was living with at the time, who is a painter, one day he said to me, "Let me paint your face." And I said, "Okay." And I sat down on the couch, and he painted me. And then when he was finished, I looked in the mirror and I was in shock. I didn't believe what I would. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" It's amazing. Like, oh my god, I could not really get over this image. So we started playing with that, me and him, and every day he would paint me in a different way. He would like try different things, and then we started making videos. Like I would say, okay, let me go into the kitchen and let me pretend I'm cooking, and then you come from behind and you film me, and then I say this, and so we started making these really funny videos, and I created this YouTube channel, and I started posting them, and people were laughing and they were loving it. So people started like inviting me to, oh, can you come to this event? Can you bring Kangela to this event? This is so funny. And then I went to this poetry event and I read a poem, and then I went to this other event. But it was not the clubs. It was not, it was like smaller gatherings of people and friends. And that's how it started. It was really slow, and it was a fun. It was basically a fun project. But then very quickly, it got really big because I started in November 2017, and until the summer of 2018, I was so kind of already known that they invited me to perform on at the stage at Pride. So then I created my first song, which a friend wrote the music and I wrote the lyrics. And I went on stage on Pride to sing it, and people went crazy. So this started like growing really, really fast, really, really fast. Kangela for me is more of an art persona. So I was always chasing to do art performances, to do more subversive things than just going to a club and entertaining the people, you know? So I would do my videos, my home videos. I would get invited to do different performances. Um, yeah, I mean, it's almost now 2 years that it's 2 years. I'm 2 years old. Kangela is 2 years old, and it's huge. I cannot I still cannot believe it. He was painting me for a couple of months when I would do somewhere a performance or an event, and we were doing the videos as well. But then, he got sick and he went into hospital. It was only for a few days, but I just wanted to make a video. I wanted to make an Angela video, and I had this idea, and I want to make a video. And I was on my own at home, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do the makeup however I can." And then I sat down. I sat down. I went to the bathroom, and I did the makeup. And I looked at myself, and I said, "Oh, I can do this because I had no self. I had no trust in myself to that I could do makeup. So I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I did it. And I was like, oh, this looks okay. So I thought, okay, now I have to take this on. It has to be me that does this because it's important that the whole project is me. So yeah, I started doing the makeup by myself with no knowledge of makeup whatsoever. Just watching videos or looking at pictures or like all the kids these days on Instagram learn how to do makeup, and it's amazing because I've discovered that I'm good at it, and people love it, and I still cannot believe it, but yeah. Well, most of the ideas come from other drag queens. I'm not going to lie, because right now, for the last few years, of course, with RuPaul's Drag Race, there is a huge community on Instagram of kids, like really young boys and girls, who learn makeup and start experimenting on themselves and posting their pictures on Instagram. And there is so many inspiring artists out there which I follow, and I look at their work, and I don't necessarily incorporate it as I see it. I always try to do the Kangela thing or whatever. There's some features that Kangela always has, so I take those, and then I take some other ideas and some other things. And I think the artist that I'm most inspired by is Lee Bowery, the late London artist of the 80s, who is absolutely insane, was absolutely insane. One of his looks was that he would just paint big polka dots, orange polka dots or other colors on his face, and just go out with a wig on and just polka dots on his face. And then he would wear a polka dot dress as well, and then polka dots on his face. And it was so funny. So I thought, okay, maybe I can do a full Kangela makeup, and then over the full colorful makeup, I'm gonna make polka dots on a skin color with skin color makeup. Yeah, I've done this twice, and it's so funny. I absolutely love it. So yeah, it's like I like Kangela's infected over with these polka dots. I don't really think it's almost like a meditation. I just I sit down. It's you go into this zone. You look at yourself. You look at your face in the mirror, and you look at it again, and you're like, okay, let's put the base on. You put the base, and then you're like, I never plan it. Well, sometimes I say, oh, maybe I want to do this with the eyes, but I never full plan the whole thing. One thing I've come to really enjoy is the base color, which is usually flesh color for most drag queens. I have chosen Kangela to paint the base color a color like orange or blue or green, or like she's green. She's got a green face. What are you talking about? It's normal. So I paint I'm like, okay, so what color shall we paint the face today? So I paint it, or maybe I paint it white and then I put colors over it. It's never a choice. It's just like I just sit down and I'm like, okay, what shall I do today? And I do stuff, and then I'm like, okay, well, let's draw the line of the eye a bit longer, or maybe draw it a bit higher, or maybe put this color here and that color there. And it's always a game for me. I find it very, very. It's creation. It's a creation. Every time I paint myself in the mirror, I'm so I get into this zone and I'm like, okay, oh, let's put like this orange dot on my forehead and then and then do this and that, So it's always really exciting. Sometimes I like I always like the finished product. Very, very, very few times have I said, oh, this is not such great Kangela, but okay. But most of the times I love it. Most of the times I'm like, ooh, look at it, ooh, fantastic. I usually prepare the outfit for a performance or a cabaret or whatever. I'm like, okay, what shall I wear? And then I have these colors, right? So usually there's a predominant color or some kind of a color story in the outfit, and I usually try to go opposite. So I always try to contrast the color of my face to the color of the outfit, so the face still stands out. So if I have a green outfit, I'm not going to do a green face. I'm going to do a red face, or I'm going to do a purple face. So that it kind of like is different and contrasting. So yeah, I try to play with colors a lot. The first song, my God, the first song again was okay. So every so often, I will go on Facebook. I will have some. I will make up a quote of my own, of some clever thing that I thought, and I will post it on Facebook. Just for fun. And so one day I went on Facebook and I wrote, if you want to get on a pedestal, you need to have some background in the gutter. Uh, but that makes sense in Greek. In Greek, it's a wordplay. In Greek, it's για να ανέβεις στο βάθρο χρειάζεσαι ένα υπόβαθρο στο βόθρο. So it makes sense as a rhyme. And I wrote that, and a friend of mine um, replied to that. And then I replied after that, and then I saw it, and I said, "This is a poem." And I took this, and this was a poem, and I actually embroidered it with gold thread on a piece of really old bedding sheet, and I have it framed at home. And that was like the poem. So I said, okay, I want to create a Kangela song. Oh, how about taking this poem? And I took this poem, and then also I had the Kangela and me. I was really stuck with the word honey. So I would call everyone, oh, honey, honey, this, honey, that, because it was very famous in the drag community in the States as well. So I started using honey, honey, honey forever. And I said, okay, I'm gonna create a really catchy song. I'm gonna take this poem, and then I'm gonna call it the song "Honey," and then that's how it happened, you know. And that was the song, and I created it, and people went crazy, crazy. That was the first song, yeah. Then I got involved in a project with a friend of mine who I work quite a lot. I mean, he involves me in all his projects, and we work a lot together. We had we formed this little punk synth punk band where he does the music and I do the lyrics and the singing, and we've done 3 songs. And one of them was very prolific because we created it about a year and a half ago, and it was basically the song of the political party that is now in power. It's exactly the same lyrics, but in a punk way of singing. So we created this song out of fun, just for fun, and we forgot about it. And then all of a sudden we have this government now, and it's really scary because it's really right wing and causing all these problems. So we're like, okay, let's bring this song out. So we released it in this compilation. Yeah, so they made 3 songs that we've only performed live once in an event here at Community Zone. And then I thought I want to make another song, but I want it to be political. I want it to be more serious in its because the other song was fun. It was a funny, it was. I wanted to create a more political song, so I sat down and I wrote this current song that I have, which is basically very anti-racist, anti everything, anti-fascist, anti-fatphobic, anti. Telling it's basically telling the world, who are you to tell me what to wear, who are you to tell me who to be or what to do. I am Kangela, and I can do whatever I want, and you love me whatever I do. And then in the end of the song, I say, we are all Kangela, and we are going to smash you all like the patriarchy. We're going to smash you all, and we're gonna, with our heels and our wigs, we're going to like take over the world. So it's very empowering for the community, and I was really, really, really happy to create it. And then, of course, I was invited again at Pride to perform, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I did it, and it was massive. It's massive. So, yeah. Well, I've learned that I have so many more skills than I actually thought I had. That I can actually explore so many more avenues of creativity because now I have a platform, and my platform is Kangela, and through her I can explore whatever I want. So I can bring all sorts of other creative things in it because she's not just a drag queen, she's not a woman, she's just a creature. She's a, I say that Kangela is a psychedelic punk clown housewife. So it's like whatever. So I can bring in whatever the fuck I want, and this is really exciting for me. I've discovered, of course, that I can have an impact on people, which was my dream as a child. From when I remember myself, I was always disappointed with the world, and I always wanted people to become better people. So I always try with what I do to make people see life in a different way, like may see people in a different way, see art in a different way, and also try themselves to be in a different way. You know, so it's never. I always try to surprise people and you know, like make them discover uh, themselves and you know society in a different way. They love it. It's so amazing. I feel so humbled that um, and it's not just young people. That's the thing. And I'm not going to talk about the other countries. I don't care. But for the Greek standards, for the Greek situation, Kangela is the ultimate transcendent creature. Like I have old people who like me. Like a friend of mine the other day said, "Oh, my grandmother absolutely loves Kangela." And I'm like, "Yeah." The funny thing is that a lot of Kangela comes from my grandmother, from my early memories of my grandmother and how she used to dress. And I've taken a lot of things that she used to wear and I've brought them into Kangela. So, and like a grandmother loves me, and then a kid of 17 years old comes and says, "Oh my God, you're amazing." So there is no limit. There is no limit. Rich people, old people, young people, poor people, everyone. There's, you know, and of course, it's not that everyone loves Kangela, but whoever loves Kangela loves Kangela. It's a cult thing, you know. They absolutely love it. The other amazing thing is that um, everyone that loves Kangela sees a different thing because they relate in a different way and they also bring in their own things. So some people come to me and they say, "Oh my God, you remind me of these Japanese Buto," and I'm like, "Okay." And they're like, "Oh, you remind me of Chinese opera, or you remind me of my grandmother in the village, or you remind me of this." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, amazing. You remind me of Frida Kahlo. You remind me of this. You remind," and everyone brings in their own projection or their own kind of thing in Kangela, you know, and it's absolutely amazing. My mom, unfortunately, is an old woman, and she's even though she wanted to become an actress, and she didn't really make it because she was poor and she couldn't finish her studies. So, in a way, I feel like I'm actually um, continuing what she never really. And I told her, I said, "Mom, I'm actually making it in what you really never made it." She's okay with it. She does not understand it. The thing is, she's not internet friendly, so she's not on the internet, so she cannot see a lot of Kangela. I've told her, "Mom, get yourself a bloody computer or even a phone." I've given her my old phone and she still does not know how to use it. And I was like, "If you went online," and she's like, "I don't want to go online because I'll go crazy. I'll just get lost online." And I'm like, "Why not? You're an old woman, you have nothing to do. You can do this." Like, and I really, you know, and she could like keep in touch a little bit more. I think that she would find a lot of things a bit shocking, like Angela does. She would probably feel that, you know, there's I'm getting too much exposure, and she would fear as a mother that I would probably get hurt, or that someone would want to hurt me, or you know, or bad comments, or bad press, or all this that mothers fear. So it's yeah. So she's not really in touch. I mean, I talked to her. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I've got my cabaret, and I know, and I'm performing at the Pride, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that." And she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, good for you, good for you." Oh, you're really touching on a very sensitive subject because coming back to Athens, I've become such a strong personality and such a strong artistic persona and whatever. And unfortunately, this has had a big not this, but moving to Athens has had a big impact in my love life because people are still very narrow-minded. They go by really narrow standards of beauty or personality or whatever. Of course, me being such a big personality, it's very difficult to find people that will see behind that because, of course, there's something behind that. You know, it's not just a big personality. There's a soft heart and a very emotional person behind that. But unfortunately, I don't show it very much, and people don't really care to discover it. So it's very difficult. It's incredibly difficult, but it's okay. I mean, I can wait. You know, while I'm being fabulous and doing my thing, I can wait. You know, there's always someone for someone. There's always a person for someone. So I'm always really hopeful and always, of course, comparing it to when I was young. Of course, people they feel more free. The young people surprise me because they're very open-minded. They very playful with between them, um, and they try things. And I can see that there's things have changed. It's easier, but of course it's more difficult as well because we live in a in really hard times. The economy is fucked. You know, we have still have a crisis, and so people are not particularly happy. So there is it's difficult. So it's easier and it's more difficult. I mean, the queer community itself, I guess, is a bit used to hardship. So I guess the crisis itself hasn't made things much more difficult. It's more like I think the political situation and maybe the death of Zach, the murder of Zach, and feeling that we're still not safe and that we still have to fight for to be who we are. And I think it's a more political thing that the queer communities is more kind of scared and depressed about than I think the economical. We used to not having money to go out for drinks and keep going and getting a cheap beer from the kiosk and drinking it on the square or whatever. You know what I mean? It's we're used to that. So I think it's more it's a more political thing for me. People are very scared. You know, thank God we had Zach as our, I guess, it was an opportunity, I guess, to become political and shout about something. We had another this year on the anniversary of his killing. We had another march, and so there's been some movement. But people are scared. You know, it's not easy because now the police is stronger. They feel stronger. They're around. We can see them. You know, so it's not like I can be who I want. It's very difficult still. So that's why I think we still need to be very political and fight. It's very funny because when he died, when it happened, I think it was when I found out, and the next day, And I said, you know what? This is going to be for good for us. For good, I mean, this is going to be good for our community because we're going to rise up and we're going to get angry and at least have some reason to fight, you know? So it was a horrible event, and of course, it shouldn't have happened. But I think it has served our community some good. Kangela is for absolute freedom of expression, absolute freedom of being whoever or whatever anyone wants to be. Not only for ourselves, but also giving the space to everyone else to be who they want. That is it. That's the simplest thing, and it's the hardest thing, unfortunately, in the society that we live in. So I'm fighting for this. It's a fight. It's, you know, that's what I do with my cabaret. I give the stage to people to come and perform and do what they want, be who they are, try different things. You know, be like a part of this whole thing. You know. I think I'm finished. Yeah, I think I'm finished.